Thank you for joining me for the pause.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so weird to be doing it through LinkedIn Live, but I'm glad we practiced yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this has been an interesting experience already, and I'm super excited to hear what you guys are thinking. But I'll go ahead and jump in because I was just thinking it. This is really weird. Like, my whole career has been bi-directional. So like, I know when something's working because I'm right there and I can see them, and even on Zoom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the argument is, you can still get a lot out of Zoom. And so it's very strange to not be getting the reactions, to know what's landing, what's not. I would so love to hear from other podcasters about how they kind of handle that weird part.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Was that some of the thoughts you were having while you're going through?
Yeah. Yep, emerged.
You know,
Which is great. Proof it works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't have thoughts about what other people might be thinking of us while we're doing this recording. I had thoughts about what I am noticing around kind of just my environment and what's coming most for me. And I got something out of that too. It was really interesting. Yeah, so in the backyard, and that's where I was mainly looking. In my backyard, there was this, I just noticed it the first time. The leaves are changing here in upstate New York. There's this speck of like bright red. And that became wildly apparent when I did a little bit of that kind of noticing, and it became an interesting thing I grabbed onto and kept my focus on it for a moment.
So you're going for a walk later to see if there's more, right?
Oh, I can still see it. It's just absolutely spectacular. So yeah, I want to just walk right back there and it's calling me, saying like, "Hey, come check me out."
Take a picture.
Yes. Oh, I did. I posted it on our LinkedIn Live stream. So.
Oh, cool. Okay. Oh, plug to go check that out, I guess.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it is interesting what you notice when you take a moment to pause. So just, that, and so the red just brings me back to my morning walk. And I was noticing this ancient tree, gnarly, and, and so we're deep into fall and the leaves have fallen off, and you can see all of the knots and the gnarls and the different branches going in different directions. Including a branch at the top, which actually fell off and is sitting on top of another branch. A little bit precarious, but it's sort of fun to notice that in just familiar area in the neighborhood, just walking around and saying, what it was delightful, just a little bit of delight in the day. Yeah.
Yes. Pausing brought some delight.
Yeah.
What else?
It's kind of nice to do it. I mean, as I'm sure you guys were kind of like me and thinking about like, how's this going to go? What's going to happen? Like all morning, figuring out our process. Yesterday when we were practicing all that stuff, all of that was swirling. And yet it flowed just enough that I could start thinking like, oh, whoa, hold on. This is a new medium for me. How am I going to be impactful in it? And that's like, that should be the main thing, right? I mean, if we have our entire business is called Unrestricted Humans. Humans is a good reason to care about that. So it got me to the right question.
I really like what you brought up, dealing with something that's new. Right. And so this newness, the experience of being the three of us on a live stream, entirely new. We practiced a little bit, but that was kind of what was interesting about it, is having a moment of pause while we're in this new situation.
good point.
Right.
Well, and thinking back to all of the different people that we've had the opportunity to work with in the past, and the different types of pauses that we've invited them into, and just that strength in getting present for the work at hand. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the live stream was just a couple of minutes. What I love about it, it's just not very long. And in the normal course of the day, and starting a meeting and starting a conversation, you could talk about the weather, or you could pause. So, yeah, and get ready.
We blocked out 10 minutes of time, and it didn't take 10 minutes.
No.
But where I felt like you just mentioned meetings, like applying it to a meeting, like doing a pause for the first 4 minutes of a meeting. And maybe even like that additional couple minutes of noticing what's coming up in that pause is enough. I feel like enough centeredness, or enough like presence, enough focus. That was the thing that came up for me, the focus.
Yeah. No, totally. Because like I told you, like brain swirl before that. And then as soon as, and I think it's really important. I was talking with a previous client about this one time, like it's important to stand up. You feel something different than sitting in your chair all day. And so like, the foot thing really landed for me because it kind of knocked all the other junk out of my head. I'm not calling it junk, but you know what I mean. Like
Junk's a good word for it.
But how often and especially, I mean, I'm thinking to friends of mine who own small businesses or are people managers. Like you're going from crisis or firefight or something to the next one.
Yep.
And so you've got all this junk up here. Sue said this, and then Dan did that, and then, oh my gosh, that Mary. And it's all in my, sorry, Mary, I'm picking on you, but it's all in my head, right? And so how am I supposed to have a critical conversation with clear thought and focus to be able to get to some kind of outcome, whether that's profit, whether that's making the person I'm meeting with feel listened to, whether that's decision making. How am I supposed to get there with junk up here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that I was noticing in just being the person speaking the words, leading the pause, is I had to pause before coming in to lead a pause myself, so that I could be in that more grounded, present space.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which is I think one of the beauties of having someone else. You have a team, you have an organization, you have a group trying to work together, and having someone else who can hold that space for you, so that you don't have to like manage the overhead of doing that prep work, of being sort of prepared to help people ground and get present in the moment to do the work. I think there's a lot of value there.
Yeah.
It's true. Because how disrespectful if you wouldn't have done that, right? Like to say, hey, this is the practice that we believe in, which we do. And then if you wouldn't have done it, you're telling me that I need to pause, but you're better than a pause. Like, are you really? Oh.
Or you might have noticed my energy being so high and anxious that you might have been like, whoa, Mary, take a pause.
Okay, but behind the scenes information, there's a reason I don't do these.
Well, it reminds me of times I've been in difficult confrontations or meetings where it's like, can we just pause here? And I thought in that moment, I don't want to pause. I'm not ready to pause.
No.
Right? And it's kind of like I'm holding my ground here. It's like, no, I want to fight. But the pause ended up creating a lot more, I don't know, just opportunity for letting the junk, I think junks are like letting the junk or letting the kind of stuff that's getting in the way sort of dissipate so that the real meaningful work can begin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, someone I know from years and years and years ago has been posting a lot on LinkedIn recently about solid facilitation skills. Mm-hmm. And he had posted something the other day, and it just made me think, he had posted something about dealing with conflict. And so I was just thinking, you know, teams don't have to be best friends, but we have to come in with a focused attitude of this is the job we have to get done. I have not signed some contract to like everybody on my team all the time, but I can be respectful. Like how effective things like pauses can be to at least, if there's even in a contentious environment or a quietly contentious environment, it can force people to refocus.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think I know because we've traded enough stories by now. How many times have you been in meetings and you're trying, you know, you attend and you see the facilitator just lose the room because there's been a fight breaks out and people are yelling at each other. And it's like, what do we do here?
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is like if you're uncomfortable with conflict, the pause might be something to try. Yeah, don't worry about stepping into contentious conflict or somehow feeling like you have to referee or, you know, just invite applause. Yeah.
I wonder, okay, if there are any Agile coaches listening, I would love it if one of you would try this. If you are an Elmo person and you know what that means, if you are an Elmo person, skip Elmo and try pause instead. And I want feedback. I'm sure Mary and Brian, like, right? Wouldn't that be really interesting to run an experiment instead of Elmo? And for those of you not listening, okay, I guess I should probably tell you, enough, let's move on. It's an acronym and you bring your little stuffed Elmo, literally, and throw it in the middle of the table. And it's supposed to be a conflict-free version of yada, yada to keep the conversation moving on. You can see, obviously, how I feel about this. But try to pause. Like, if you're an Elmo person, try to pause. Put some comments in. Tell me if it works.
Yeah.
It will.
So any last words that we want to share, you think, as we debrief? I mean, what's your one takeaway? What's your one bit of sharing, noticing from the pause?
I find myself pausing just to kind of get that one word.
Different.
For me, it's alignment.
And for me, I'm back to delight. Lean in for the rest of the afternoon in delight with both of you.
Oh, this team's the best. So if you missed our LinkedIn live, we're going to go ahead and post that video right after this one. So you can just hopefully hit play next. If not, it'll be in the playlist of the pause on right here.
Look forward to the next pause. Thanks, Mary. Thanks, Lane.
Next Wednesday.